Welcome to another episode of I'm Sure They're Doing Their Best, hosted by Paul Baylor and Drew Ferdwell.
I still love sweet tarts. Oh, let's call Paul. So good.
Good evening.
Hello, Paul.
How are you doing?
Oh, it's a Saturday night, and I am relaxed.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm also chewing on some sweet tarts. We know how much the audience loves that.
I love it. Give me some more of that.
I want to, but I just realized I really hate the green ones. I got to spit this out. Hold on.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a whole roll of them here. The big thick boys. They look like bottle caps. I mean, not the candy bottle caps, but like actual real bottle caps. Like they're nice and girthy. Good feel to them though. They feel pretty chunky, and they're delicious. Really high resolution on the underside printing that says sweet tarts, and it says bite 'em, which is also my motto. So
that's how I live my life.
Yeah. So what I miss? It's been a busy week for me. What I miss?
My week wasn't that busy. I'm more interested in your week.
Yeah, busy travel week for me this week. I gotta spit this out. Hold on. I can't talk with these big things in my mouth. There's some quality audio.
Title.
Yeah, that absolutely title. My week. So we talked about this last week before I got things kicked off when I went on my presentation remote rant. But I was traveling all week. This was my kind of first official big work trip where I was out talking to a company, delivering some workshop content on behalf of my employer. And it was good. It was just out in western Massachusetts, which getting to was really interesting. I would say that the most stressful part of my trip was driving in Boston, which I've never done before.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have.
I have not.
Okay, don't.
Noted.
It's really, really scary and stressful. So I was in western Massachusetts, and when I was planning my trip for this particular event, I had a choice of airports to fly to. The closest airport to where I was in Massachusetts was Connecticut, so I could have flown to Hartford and driven about 30 minutes to get to this particular place I was going to be at. The problem is there's no direct flight that I saw from Columbus to Hartford, Connecticut. The easiest way for me to get there would be through connection, and the way airports work in 2019 is I would probably fly to Chicago and then fly to Hartford, or fly to Atlanta and then fly to Hartford. So I said, to hell with all of that, and I just decided that I was going to fly to Boston and then drive the hour and a half to this location. So an extra hour in the car, give or take, from Boston Logan, which you can get a multitude of direct flights on airlines like JetBlue or my preferred carrier, which is Delta. So that's what I did. So I flew from Columbus to Boston, got up super early on Monday and flew, really, really dosed myself good and plenty with some Xanax, got on the plane. Flight was completely uneventful. I don't remember landing, so it's a relatively short flight that I was just high enough that I didn't really remember any of it. So I get to Boston, get to the rental car place, get a rental car, which led to my infamous "what the hell is the B gear" tweet, which I think that was probably my most retweeted and impressionable tweet of the year, just FYI, according to Twitter analytics. But go ahead.
So quick tangent. What did B actually stand for?
So I'm told by people who know more about cars than I do that apparently that gear is designed to basically provide engine braking to your car. So if you are traveling downhill or traveling in conditions where you need a little extra braking power, it's basically an engine retarder. Kind of like, the semi-trucks have when they have that gear that sounds like their engine's farting.
Yep.
It's very similar. But what I find really fascinating is that you would think that would mean that you would get equal acceleration, but you don't. So, like, and what was really annoying about this rental car was like I would put it in gear, and I'm used to drive kind of being at the bottom of the gear shift. B was at the bottom of the gear shift, and I would be like mashing the gas pedal and not going anywhere. And I was like, what the heck? And then that's when I noticed that B is not D, and D is one click up from that. So I corrected that, asked Twitter what B was, got a lot of good answers and only a couple right ones. So no, it was fine. And then so I get to Boston and I get in the rental car and I drive, and it was pretty much Interstate 90 the whole way. Now, fascinating thing about driving on Interstate 90 in Boston, it's also known as the Mass Pike, which is a big toll road. There's no toll booth, so everything's electronic. So they either do license plate reading or you get the little transponder in your car. And, you know, they warn you about this when you're on the rental car shuttle, that there are no toll booths, and you'll have to make sure that you ask your rental car agency how they do the tolls. So obviously, this being a work trip, I'm going to expense all of these things. So I get in my rental car and I start driving. And the lady at the rental car center said, you know, there's a little box in your car for tolls. And she showed me a sample of the box that was in the car. Now, this box was not in my field of vision, which is a good thing. It was kind of like up and behind the mirror, so I never saw it. So I get in the car and I start driving, and I'm driving, and it takes about an hour and a half to get to the place. I got to the place, did like my tech check and saw the room I was going to be presenting in, and everything looked good, and then I just worked from the hotel the rest of the day. No muss, no fuss. Did all of my presentation this week. It was super good. I think the people really enjoyed it and everything. And then it was time for me to drive back to Boston. So the class that I was teaching ran from Tuesday to Thursday, and my plan was to fly back Friday morning, because what I didn't know was, and couldn't plan around, is what time we were going to finish up on Thursday. And I knew that traffic was going to be problematic. So I just said, you know what, I cleared it with the powers that be, and I said, hey, do you care if I get a hotel room, somewhere near the airport or in Boston to spend the night? Of course not, Drew. Do what you need to do. So that's what I did. Now, that necessitated me driving in Boston. And driving in Boston, driving in Columbus has spoiled me a little bit because everything's so flat here and roads are relatively decently laid out. There's only a few points where like merging or traffic patterns are like a really big deal. And like if you have to drive in downtown Columbus, there's some one-way streets, but it's pretty clearly marked. Boston doesn't work like that. Like there's lines on the road, but they're kind of just like a general guideline of where cars should be. Okay. Paul, so I would like get on a ramp or turn on a street, and there would be like four. Okay, so use your mind's eye for a minute. Let's play imagination time. So there would be, all right. Yeah, there would be. So imagine you're in a busy road, and there are 4 lanes on either side of this divided highway. Okay, so you have your right hand lane, which is a forward or turn right lane. Yes. Or better yet, no, scratch that. It is a right-hand turn only lane, okay? Okay. Then you have the middle 2 lanes, which is straight only, and then you have the left-hand lane, which is for making a left turn. Now, imagine you are the first car in the second lane from the right, and you're looking straight ahead. Now, there are 2 lanes in front of you, okay? Now, logic would say, according to every sign that you see in front of you, that your lane is straight ahead. But that's not how it works in Boston. See, in Boston, your lane is further to the right. So like you have to like zigzag through the intersection to get where you're going. How I didn't get into any accidents when I was driving in Boston is completely beyond me. And I would like to pride myself to think that I am a relatively decent driver. Like I'm not a jerk driver. I generally will let people have the right of way if they need it. I don't give up my right of way. You're not supposed to do that either. But I'm generally a pretty nice driver. And people are so aggressive about trying to merge. And there are so many like on-ramps and off-ramps that just kind of collide at weird angles. And people are not shy about merging at various times and give you the finger for letting them merge, which that doesn't make any sense when you say it out loud, but that's exactly what happened. Yeah, You get yelled at for letting them merge, so figure that one out. So I got to Boston kind of late on Thursday night and had a early evening because I had not a super early, but an earlier flight out Friday morning, which was fine. But what I find fascinating is for as aggressive as drivers are in Boston, the last kind of anecdote I'll give here, actually I have two more. The last anecdote that I would give here is that, so Friday morning I got up early, got in my rental car, and I had to get gas because the rental car companies charge you like $30 a gallon or something if you don't put gas back in the car. So I fired up my map application of choice on my phone, and I plugged in where to go get gas. And the closest place to get gas from where I was staying was Charlestown, which was about a 10-minute drive from my hotel. So I get in my car and I drive over to Charlestown. And the other thing about Massachusetts is they don't like you making left turns. Like a lot of times you have to just turn right onto a road and then eventually do a U-turn or figure out how you want to go the other direction. So I get to this gas station, which necessitated a U-turn in a busy intersection, and then I get out of there, and to get to the airport, I kind of had to go through a neighborhood. Now, remember, the people that drive in Boston are just, really, really aggressive about their driving, except when they're like trying to pull out of a parking space. That is like the one time they show caution and pause. So I'm driving down this really narrow street, and this one Lexus is trying to kind of pull out of a parking space, and they see me coming, and they like slowly kind of inch forward and stop. So I'm trying to get to the airport, but I'm like, you know what, go ahead. So I slow down and I stop, and they just kind of look at me. So then I honk my horn, and then I get the finger. So I don't know how the rules work in Boston for driving, is what I'm saying. I don't know. The only other thing I'd say is that funny story to end this thing. As I was getting gas, I had my wallet sitting in the center console of my car. So I was getting gas, which was on the opposite side of my car. So I opened the passenger door to my car, and I noticed the little box that my transponder is supposed to be in. Yeah, you're supposed to open it to get it to work. So I don't know how I'm going to get billed for all these tolls. I imagine they will get me by the plate, but I don't know if that means, are they going to send me a letter? Is it going to be a credit card charge that comes later? Because I would rather just kind of pay it than deal with the hassle of trying to reopen an expense report. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Oh. So I don't know. Honestly, that was the most stressful part of my trip. Everything else was super chill. I got to work with some really good people this week, and all in all, a pretty good time. So anyway, there's my Boston rant.
So how did the presentation remote work?
Totally fine. I mean, I clicked buttons fine. And it was fine. I don't like. Okay. All right. So this thing has arrows. It has extra buttons that I don't need. Go back and listen to last week's episode if you want to hear me harp on this, but here's all I'll say. This thing has buttons. It has a laser pointer. All those buttons worked fine. The only thing that kind of stinks, and this isn't, I don't know if this is so much the pointer's problem as it is mine, but number one, there isn't a way to turn it off. So I have a bag of dongles, and I keep my presentation remote with my bag of dongles. I got dongles for chargers. I got dongles for, USB adapters, and I got dongles for phone chargers, and I got dongles for presentation devices. So it just kind of lives in my dongle bag. But the thing is like the slightest like nudge of any of these buttons turns the remote on. So there's not like an off switch. I think they just think that you like let this thing sit there and it never gets jostled around. So I know the battery isn't going to last very long.
So there's poor design. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no off button. There is a button that looks like a lock, and if you click that, the little green LED turns red. But all that means is the buttons don't do anything. The LED still stays on. So I don't get it. And like the instructions are long gone, because you buy a presentation remote and you're just like, I'll press this button to go forward and I'll press this
right.
button to go backwards. There's a bunch of buttons. I don't know what they do. So yeah, I don't know. It's fine. I didn't lose it like I intended to. I don't know. It was perfectly fine. Now I will say, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later here. I think it's our second topic du jour. But when you have when you have a laptop plugged in and you have another port dedicated for the display adapter of whatever presentation tools you're working with, and you have a dongle for your presentation remote, you run out of ports really, really fast on a MacBook Pro.
Yeah, you do.
And depending on the shape and form factor of your dongle makes plugging additional dongles in problematic. So you need little skinny dongle boys to get the most maximum efficiency out of having a lot of dongles plugged in once. So I fully saturated my MacBook Pro ports this week. So that would be the only other thing I would say. So again, having native Bluetooth would be ideal. Yeah. So otherwise, otherwise it was fine. It was fine.
Good. Well, I'm glad everything went well for you. Well for you, except for driving in Boston.
Yeah, easily the most stressful part of my trip. And then, the other thing is you get downtown Boston, and the place I was staying was in Cambridge, which is, where all of the colleges are. So, you have MIT there. I think Harvard's relatively close to there. And people are just milling about, and people just walk through intersections. People just make left turns in intersections. Traffic lights mean nothing at rush hour. You just... the city just flows, and you become a part of it, and you have to survive. And it took me an hour. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to drive out of Boston at rush hour. It took me well over 2.5 hours to get back to Boston on Thursday night. So anyway,
wow.
Yeah, I need a sweet tart. All right, what are we talking about today?
Well, some big news came out of Apple this week, and I know we talked about the keyboards on the MacBook Pros in the past.
I'm excited about this.
It's finally out. The brand new 16-inch MacBook Pro with the brand new Magic Keyboard, which will solve all of our woes. So, first question, did you buy one? Second question, are you planning on buying one? And third question, general impressions.
All right, let me start with the general impressions first. So, general impressions. I'm really excited for it. As somebody who's been using a late model 2018 MacBook Pro for a while now, I love my Mac. I use my Mac every day. I use it for work. I use it for non-work. I think it's a fantastic machine. When I bought the 2018 model is when they started offering 32 gigs of RAM, which I did get. I'm really excited about the new 16-inch. And I want to talk about the 16-inch moniker here in a minute. But for those of you that don't follow Apple as closely as Paul or I do, so the 16-inch MacBook Pro is their newest. I think it is effectively replacing the 15-inch MacBook Pro. You will not probably be able to buy a 15-inch anymore. So Apple has continued to refine their design. Now, there's a lot of things that have changed on the 16-inch, but I'll tell you the two things that I'm most excited about. The two things that I'm most excited about are the size of the screen. So it is a 16-inch, and again, I'm putting this in air quotes, Retina display. And the other thing I'm really excited about is apparently because of the slightly big form factor and continued miniaturization, less bigoting of the internals, there is some improved thermal characteristics of the laptop. Because if there is one thing I have noticed about my 15-inch is that if I've got some busy web browsers open and I've got some VMs running, the fan does click on a good bit. And I don't even have the i9. I have the i7. I think I have the 6-core right now. So I don't even have the big and baddest i9. And I know that people who bought the i9 MacBook Pros when they came out frequently complained about thermal throttling and stuff like that. And I've never had thermal throttling, but I do have fans that click on from time to time. So if this thing uses less of its fans, I'm all for that. And according to what I've read so far, is the new MacBook Pros are again using AMD-based graphics. And again, if you've been following AMD versus Intel versus NVIDIA stuff recently, you know that AMD is all about these new 7-nanometer fabrication processes for their microelectronics, which translates into better power savings and lower power consumption and better thermal performance. So all signs are pointing to this being a much cooler, less fan noisy MacBook Pro in recent memory, which is really exciting to me. Now, here's the one thing I'm wondering, Paul. And I haven't dug into this yet, and I was planning to dig into it because I'm very close to buying one of these. Full disclosure, I am going to buy one. I know I'm going to buy one. It's just a question of when, because my computer is working perfectly fine right now. And I'll get to why I didn't just pull the trigger on one right away. But here's my thing. From listening to people on various podcasts and various websites type about these things, they are billing this as a 16-inch laptop. But as I understand it, the form factor itself, like the actual dimensions of the laptop, have only gone up like really, really slightly. And the reason they're calling this a 16-inch is because they have made the bezels so very small on the inside of the screen.
Right. Well, even now, like the 15-inch does not describe the size of the laptop. It describes the size of the display.
Right.
So it's 15-inch corner to corner. So yeah, with the reduced bezels, and it is a little bit bigger in every dimension. Yeah, they're not calling it a 16.
But here's honest to God, like here's my biggest qualm about buying this thing. Is it going to fit in a 15-inch laptop sleeve for a backpack?
So I have heard that unless it's like a hard case, that it's only a few like millimeters different in every direction.
Right.
And it should fit in most places where the 15-inch fits.
So, as you are aware, I am a person that definitely puts a clamshell on his MacBook. So, number one, I want to continue that because it has saved me a few times. And I like the fact that I put stickers directly on the clamshell instead of on the exterior aluminum. So, I would want to put a clamshell on the 16-inch when they are available. So again, my fear is still valid that it's not going to fit in my 15-inch laptop sleeve. And this is coming from somebody who almost bought a Tom Bin bag today. So but then again, according to you, there's no sleeve in the Tom Bin bag, right?
You can buy what they call the cache, which is it's an additional purchase, but you can buy a sleeve that kind of fits in and hooks into the bag. Yeah, I'll put a link to that in the show notes.
So, okay, so if that's the case, I have to assume that Mr. Bin is going to, make a sleeve that fits this laptop comfortably.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if that's the case, that might be like my only concern because I know that a 17-inch air quotes laptop won't fit in my sleeve. So those are the only kind of qualms I have about buying one. Now, let me turn that around to you and say, Paul, did you order one?
I did not.
Okay. Now you have a 2017, right?
I do have. I have a 2017 MacBook Pro. So this is back before they offered the 32 gigs of RAM. Yeah, I'm torn. I am torn. I would like to not live in fear of using my keyboard or getting a speck of dust in it and having it be ruined. I've already had to take compressed air a handful of times to my keyboard. I've gotten lucky so far every time. I also have some just wear on my A and S keys where that kind of just looks like some of the letters are coming off and you can see more of the backlight coming through. And that other bothers me. On the other hand, I still have Apple Care on this laptop until August 29th, 2020. So I have a little less than a year more of Apple Care. And I'm also a little afraid that like right now, literally everybody's going to be buying the 16-inch MacBook Pro and selling their old 15s, which will drive down the resale price, supply and demand.
So we should talk about that because this is something that if you are used to buying like Dells or HPs that you may not be aware of, but MacBooks and MacBook Pros and MacBook Airs are really good at holding their value, typically.
Indeed.
Right? Like, let's say this 16-inch hadn't come along and I was in the market for a new 15-inch with the same keyboard and maybe updated like next generation Intel processors or something. I could comfortably get 50%, if not more, than what I paid for the laptop. But
yes, quite possible. Yeah.
But to your point, you have all these people that have these older MacBook Pros with butterfly keyboards who will be looking to upgrade. And that is definitely going to drive prices down. So I think that you are probably right about that. So why would somebody pay? I mean, I don't know what you would sell it for, but let's call it X. Why would somebody pay X for, this older generation when these new ones are out that, have these new keyboards, which I want to talk more about in a minute. But yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you there.
Yeah.
But you're about due though, right?
Yeah, like I said, I'm approaching 3 years, and that's typically when I replace my MacBooks. Is I typically just get the Apple Care. When the Apple Care is done, that's when it's time for Paul to buy a new laptop. And I'm almost there, but see, I know it's going to happen. Is one of these days, Paul's going to get the idea, well, you know what, Paul? You should just go to the Apple Store and see one of these things and type on it. And I'm going to love it so much that I'm either going to order one or just leave the store with one right there.
So let's talk about that. So
okay.
So apparently the biggest upgrade here that everybody is super excited about is that Apple has admitted defeat on the butterfly keyboard, and they have gone back to the what do they call them? Scissor switches?
Scissors. Yes.
Yeah.
Scissor
So
switch. That's hard. That's hard for me to say. Woo.
Yeah, they are scissor switches, which means that they have more travel distance than the butterfly keyboard.
Yep.
And from what I understand, it is just like typing on the Magic Keyboard, which to me is an automatic buy because, as you know, Paul, as somebody who has used mechanical keyboards and continues to use his mechanical keyboards on most of his computers in his house, my day-to-day typing is on an Apple Magic Keyboard. It is the wireless Bluetooth one. I love that keyboard. I love the way it types. I've always liked Apple keyboards. Even when I had like my iMac and stuff, I really enjoyed the wireless Bluetooth keyboards that they had. I've always liked those keys. And from what I understand, this is as close to that experience as you can get. So to me, that's awesome. I would love a keyboard that typed like that now I want to go type on it to feel it, but yeah, that's pretty awesome, I think.
Yeah. Now, I don't mind the feel of the butterfly keyboard.
And I don't either. I don't have a problem typing on my keyboard. I don't.
I don't either. I like the short travel. I like the big keys. I like the stability of the keys. Like they don't wobble if you hit them off center. The sound could use a little work. And it's kind of more of a, not very satisfying. It's more just like a thud.
Yeah. It's like you're wrapping your fingers on aluminum.
Yeah. Like I don't mind the feel, but like I'm at the point now where I rarely even think about using my laptop keyboard because I'm so afraid that like, is there a key on there already that is stuck or won't work or will double up and I just don't know it yet? And if I don't touch it, I'll never know. Or is this going to be the time where like I have a piece of like potato chip dust in my fingernail and it slides out and it gets underneath the key and then suddenly I'm hosed. So,
yeah. Now, as listeners who have been with us for a while will know, my keyboard did get serviced, and I have the updated, like the third attempt at the butterfly keyboard in mine. I have not had any problems since I've had my keyboard replaced. That's
excellent. Yeah. Yeah, see, if I got my keyboard replaced, I would have the exact same keyboard I have now.
Yeah, because your configuration for whatever reason can't get the newest one.
That's right.
Okay, so let's talk price, right? So I'm on the Buy MacBook Pro page right now. So the first choice you get here is you have to decide whether or not you want to start with the 2.6 gigahertz 6-core or 2.3 gigahertz 8-core. Now, the configuration is pretty configurable. So I'm going to start with the cheaper option here, which starts at $23.99 US Ranchero dollars.
That's what I would select as well. I think for me, I want the higher single core clock speed than the additional 2 cores. for what I do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do as well. Although, as somebody who has to run a lot of VMs, it's worth considering. But I have 6 now, and 6 is fine. So it starts at $2,400. I like Space Gray. I know you like the classic silver.
I like the silver.
Yep. So then your next choice is how much memory do you want? As someone who has 32 gigs now, I'm not willing to give that up. That is a $400 upgrade option.
I would do the same thing. Is I'm dying to have 32 to run more VMs and things like that. Yep.
Now you can go as high as 64 gigs of RAM now, but that is an $800 upgrade. 32 is more than enough for what I do.
I agree.
Then you get to an interesting choice here. So what graphics option is right for you? Base, you get a 4 gigabyte AMD Radeon Pro 5300M. Then you can scale up for $100 to the 5500M, and then you can go another $100 to get the 8 gigabytes Radeon Pro 5500. You know, for $200, I think I would do that. And then...
yeah, I would skip it for me personally. I would leave it with the base.
Yeah. Now, the next option you get is, I think, where you would go a little higher. So now you can go up to 8 terabytes of storage with these things now, and this model is base 512. So my configuration right now with the base 512 is $3,000, and if I go to the 1 terabyte, I'm at $3,200, which I think is what I paid for my 15-inch. I think, or very close to it. So you would probably go for the 1 terabyte. Honest to God,
absolutely. I would do 1 terabyte. Yep.
Yeah, my laptop and everything on it is very disposable. I do not store media on it. I have a NAS for that, so I can probably still get away with 512. So I'd be looking at about $3,000 for the configuration.
Yeah, that's exactly what mine is. It's just shy of $3,000.
Yeah.
And then by the time that I add, I would add AppleCare as well. So,
yep. So you definitely want to buy AppleCare with something like this. And the other thing worth mentioning too is that if you are married to educators like we are, you may be able to get this for a discount. So that's worth noting as well. It's not big, but it would definitely cover sales tax.
That's true. Yeah.
So, yeah, I probably will buy one, Paul. Probably not this year. I will probably wait till the springtime.
You know what? I'm thinking the same thing as I probably will see, just wait through the holidays and then maybe pick one up next year. Or maybe I'll be good and wait till the summer when my AppleCare expires or closer to then. But
yeah. And I do want people to get a little more miles on them, because everybody that has touched one or used one right now is in love, right? It's a honeymoon. It's something new from Apple. We have to give it some time. We need to see kind of where the warts are, because of course we loved the original. Most people loved the original redesign when they introduced the butterfly. And I'm not saying that these keyboards are going to fail, but who knows? There might be some other flaw with this hardware, right? So
that's true.
I'm not necessarily eager to jump in. Like, I would absolutely jump in on a new iPhone, and I have. But something this expensive, I'm okay waiting a little bit.
I'm tempted. I've looked at them over and over again. I've read all the reviews. I've listened to podcasts. Yeah, I probably will end up owning this laptop, just not right now.
Okay. Yeah, but it's exciting. I mean, you and I both use Macs on a daily basis, and I know I want one. And it was kind of funny that I was able to do this entire presentation that I did about SQL Server on Linux from my Mac this week. People got a big kick out of that. So
that's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So enough Mac talk. So I noticed you want to talk about Disney Plus, and that's timely because I was just talking about Disney Plus with my spouse today. So tell me about Disney Plus.
Yeah, I was just wondering. It was another big thing that came out this week. I think it launched on like Monday or Tuesday this week. I had already signed up for a year beforehand. I have 2 kids in the house. One who really loves Disney princesses and things like that, and another one who, is moderately interested in Star Wars and Marvel movies and stuff. So it seemed like it was really just the service for us. It's not that expensive. I think if you buy the year, it's like $5 a month. Uh, it just happened to be that I think the day that it came out, I was actually working from home because we were closed for a snow day. So I got to play around with it in the morning, and I got to experience all the wonderful, unable to do anything bugs, because of, it's just too many people at once hitting the system, I imagine. I really like it so far.
Yeah, I knew that Disney Plus was coming, but it didn't necessarily register in my atmosphere because, one, I've never had a huge hard-on for anything Disney. And that includes Star Wars these days, and it also includes the Marvel stuff. I like those things. I don't hate those things. I'm not trying to yuck anybody's yum. It's just that I don't get that excited about it. I did see that they had some growing pains on day one, and computers are hard. We get it.
I guess they had 10 million unique logins the first day.
Yeah,
that's a lot. Considering each one of those wants to stream, video.
Well, here's the interesting thing about Disney Plus, right? What I didn't fully appreciate about services like Netflix and Amazon and Hulu to some extent is that the shows that are on there this month might not be there next month.
Yeah.
Right? Movies, the different deals that get cut with studios and people who hold rights to things, those things kind of rotate around. And the movies that I used to like watching on Netflix aren't necessarily there anymore. But if you get a service like Disney, you know what you're signing up for. You get everything that Disney has, right?
Almost.
Okay, so tell me what's missing.
Well, there's a handful of things, and it's exactly what you're talking about. It's movies that are tied up with streaming contracts with other providers for a certain period of time.
But
for example, but eventually they'll be here, right? Because those will expire. There's a couple of the Marvel movies, I think Ant-Man and the Wasp and Thor Ragnarok, which are not on the streaming service yet because they're still tied up with Netflix. Apparently, the Spider-Man MCU movies will never be on Disney Plus because of Sony. And I think one of the Star Wars movies is missing, but it's not a good one anyway, so you can send hate mail at Paul Baylor on Twitter. Thank you.
Ooh, you hate Star Wars. You're not a real nerd. I was talking to the wife tonight because she loves Disney stuff, and she was asking about it, and I told her that we would look into it, and we have almost every streaming service in the house already. So I mean, like you said, it's not terribly expensive, and the only thing that I kind of heard some positive buzz about was The Mandalorian. I don't know anything about it. I just heard that it was actually pretty good. I don't know.
Yeah, I've watched they have 2 episodes out, and I've watched them both. I'm actually really surprised how good it is. It kind of feels like a Western. It definitely has that kind of vibe, but it's definitely set in Star Wars. Follows a bounty hunter, a la Boba Fett kind of style. But yeah, it's 2 episodes in, and it's surprising. It's clever. It's cute. It's, the visuals, the way the cinematography is really good. The music is good. It's very, has a very Star Wars feel to the music. The main character never takes his helmet off, and that gets kind of old real fast, but at least to me. I guess that's my one gripe, but it's surprising. It's surprisingly very good.
Yeah, I mean, that would be the only thing I think I would watch. The old Disney cartoons and stuff, I grew up watching some of those, and I'm sure that I would maybe watch them once again, but...
Hey, they have gargoyles. And if you've never watched Gargoyles, it's worth watching.
I remember Gargoyles. Yeah. It was like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, except not terrible.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's about the nicest way I can sum that up.
Yeah. And they have a lot of classic stuff on there. I mean, all of the Disney movies are on there. And apparently they're going to keep adding new content and stuff as well. So, yeah, we're sold.
Oh boy, yeah, I'm sure I'll sign up for it eventually. It's not something that I've done yet. But someone said that the new Lady and the Tramp movie's on there.
Yeah,
is that true?
The live action doggo movie. That was the first thing my daughter watched was the Lady and the Tramp, but she enjoyed it. Yeah.
I remember watching Lady and the Tramp way back in the day. I would watch the live action of that because dogs.
Dogs. Yeah, exactly.
But that was just like in theaters like a couple months ago, right?
I think so. Yeah.
So it seems like movie studios are not adverse to bringing things to streaming like sooner than later, right? Or am I just old and people have been doing this for a while and I don't realize it?
I don't know. I think if they have been, I don't know. Yeah, I'm unaware, but
yeah, I'll probably sign up. Do you know if it's probably for U.S. customers only, or can you do this international? Do you know?
It is only U.S. at the moment.
Boo.
Yep. Unlike Apple TV Plus, which launched in a zillion countries on day one.
Except nobody's watching it. Hi-oh.
Yep, there it is.
I love Apple, but man, I don't know. There's nothing on there I want to watch.
You know what? I have the only show on there I have watched is For All Mankind.
Okay.
Are you familiar with this show at all?
I'm not. Tell me about it.
Okay, so it is an alternate kind of history show. It's a drama, but the gimmick is during the space race, the Russians were the country that got to the moon first. And from that point, history kind of deviates. It's actually, it's really good. I think they have 3 episodes out right now. I wouldn't necessarily pay for it. It's one of those things where if you bought a Apple device recently, you get it free for a year. So that's what I'm doing right now. I literally have not watched anything else on that show, but I'm really impressed with For All Mankind. Yeah.
I think.
Then again, I'm a big I love that the Apollo program and that point of history. It's really probably about the only piece of history that I actually really enjoy. So it's right up my alley. Yeah.
I think I would watch that too, and I think I would also watch Snoopy in Space. Those are the two things I would watch on that.
Yeah, I have no interest in watching Snoopy, but yeah, I've really enjoyed For All Mankind so far.
I can already hear my wife yelling in her car when she hears you say that.
The fact that I don't want to watch Snoopy?
Yes. She will and now does think less of you.
I've never enjoyed Peanuts, Charlie Brown, Snoopy. I've never found it to be A, funny, or B, enjoyable, so I'm very sorry, but that's the truth.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey. I'm not here to tell you that I'm judging you any less, Paul.
I just I don't. No thanks. But if you can get it for free, For All Mankind, I think is worth the.
All right, I might give that a shot.
But Apple TV's app is a hot mess. It's a hot mess. It's awful.
Yeah, we should definitely say that the app experience is not good.
No, it's bad. It's bad, in fact.
So continuing on things that are going to make our spouses mad, I can't help but notice the next topic on the list here. Do you want to go into this?
Okay. So I have a system for if I have something I need to do in my life, right? I have a place where I put that. I'm a Things user. It is a Mac-based and iOS to-do application, So if I have something that needs to get done, I'm not going to do it right now, I put it in my to-do app, and that's how I work. My wife works a little differently, and it hit kind of today was the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'm used to seeing Post-it notes all over the house. When she has to remember to do something, she writes a Post-it note and she puts that Post-it note somewhere where she has to see it. So we have an island in the kitchen. I'm always used to seeing 1 or 2 Post-it notes on the island. I've seen them on the front door, so she has to look at them when she walks out the front door. I've seen them attached to her car keys. I've seen them attached to her the mug she takes to work, with her flavored fizzy water. I've seen them attached to the fridge. I've seen them everywhere. I'm used to them. I'm blind to Post-it notes at this point. Just blind. Okay, so today I saw something that just took it to another level. So today, my in-laws, her parents, were in town, and at the end of the visit, we decided to go get some dinner. So, my wife, she drives an SUV. So since we had the kids and everything, we decided to take her car. So I hop into her car, and we're one of those families that, like, she drives her car, I drive my car, right? That's just how it works. So we're getting in her car, she's driving. So now I know you drive a fancy car, and you probably go to the dealership to get your oil changed and everything. But are you familiar with those clear plastic decals that if you go to like Valvoline Instant Oil Change, they put in the corner of your window?
Yeah, somewhere in your car, they put a sticker with like an estimated date and or the mileage you should go.
Okay, all right. So she had one of those stickers in the middle of her windshield. Not up in the corner, but pretty much smack right dab in the middle.
Okay.
Very visible.
She wanted to remember.
Exactly. She wants to remember that she needs to get an oil change. So she put the sticker in the middle of the windshield. Mm-hmm. So she had to see it to remind herself to get an oil change.
Okay.
And for some, that bothered me. That bothered me.
Okay, let me unpack this a little bit. So you're mad that she needed to remind herself to get an oil change, or it was more about the placement of the sticker?
It was more about how she decided she needed to be reminded to get an oil change. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, as somebody who has cleaned the inside of a windshield, it's really hard to not have a streak-free windshield. That would be the part that would upset me.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the fact that her fingers have been up in there, and the fact when I commented it, she like moved it around a bunch of times, and wow. Yeah,
okay.
She was taunting me a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like, well, it's not in my field of vision. If I put it here, it'd be in my field of vision. I mean, just to kind of unwind. I have seen Post-it notes that basically covered her speedometer of her car.
But hold on a second though. In her defense, Post-it notes are only effective if they exist in your field of view.
Okay, yeah. You know what? And I think there are better ways of tracking to-dos, but she has found Post-it notes, and like I said, I become blind to them. Like, they could just be places, and I would just look right past them and not see them. Like, they become just background noise of my life. I just ignore them.
Devil's advocate. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you drive a Hyundai, right?
Hyundai, yep. A Sonata, yep.
Yeah. Now the car tells you when it's due for service, right?
Mine doesn't, but I think hers does.
Okay.
Well, mine might, but I think I have it turned off because it's like.
So how do you?
It's a little too aggressive for me.
So how do you know when it's time for an oil change?
Okay, I do have one of those stickers, but it is discreetly hidden in the top left of my windshield, so I only need to look at it when. Look at it when I want to, and then when I decide that it's time for me to get an oil change, the sticker comes off and a to-do goes into my app.
Okay,
that's how Paul works.
Okay. As somebody who endures a lot of Post-it notes around the house, I know where you're coming from.
Yep.
But I think you have to do what works for you. And if that makes it so, listen, a sticker on the windshield is better than expensive car maintenance. True?
That is true. I don't know, something about having that decal like in the middle of the windshield just it really got to me. It really got to me. Mm-hmm. So much that right when we had this conversation, I was like, I have to talk about this today, and I opened up the doc and I threw it in there.
So did you have this little episode in front of her parents?
No, they were in a different car. They followed us.
Okay.
It was just my son, because my daughter decided to ride with grandma and grandpa to get dinner, and my son doesn't care. Like, he's 13.
I was gonna say, like, your son didn't, like, your son wasn't in tears like, Mom and Dad, stop fighting. Like, it wasn't.
And we weren't, like, there was no fight. It was very, it was very relaxed. It was very, almost comical. But I don't know, it broke me, Drew. It broke me.
Yeah, a sticker in the middle of the windshield would definitely make me raise maybe one or both of my eyebrows.
Yeah. And I'm not a very organized person. Like, if you look around my office right now, like, there are things that need to go into my closet. There's board games on the floor. There's empty Apple boxes that I need to put away. Like, I am not an organized person. But when I have something to do, when I have something that needs to be done, I have one place that I put it, and that's in things. That's how things get done in Paul's life. And I can tolerate the Post-it notes. Like, and I've seen them comical. Just like, there's times where, like, there's just like 4 or 5 Post-it notes taped to her keys because there's just so many of them. But that's how she works. But this sticker in the middle, it broke me. It broke me.
Let me ask you this: have you ever tried to game the system? Have you, like, slid in Post-it notes to get what you want?
I have not, but that's a very clever idea.
Yeah, like, right when this says, like, sex, and just, like, throw it in with the rest and see what happens.
Oh, that's genius.
Yeah. Didn't work out for me. Your mileage may vary, but it didn't work for me.
Okay.
Yeah. I too have a spouse that loves to eschew Post-it notes, so I completely understand. I've never seen one in the middle of her windshield. So thank you, Mandy. Well, you're okay now, though, right? Are you going to be okay? Okay.
I'm going to be okay. It's the thought of it still bothers me a little bit.
Okay.
But I'm going to be able to move on and get through my life. It hurt. It hurt my soul today. It broke me.
Okay, so hang on one sec. One more thing here, and we'll stop beating this horse that's already dead. Your wife is a Mac user, right?
She has a Mac. She primarily uses either A, her phone, or B, she uses the Chromebook that her school provides her, which is hot garbage. And I keep telling her that you could use your Mac and still access, Google Docs and Google Classroom and all that stuff that you do through a web browser. But she just refuses to, she really only uses her MacBook when she needs to do anything with her, like, photo library.
So, now, being the supportive husband that you have shown her that even if she weren't to use her Mac and she still wanted to use her Chromebook, you could theoretically link up your notes and your reminders to, your Google account, right?
As she said, she's tried to use reminders on her phone, and all she does is basically dismiss the notifications and doesn't pay attention to them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, she's a monster then. Okay.
She is a monster. Yeah. Okay. I know. All
right.
I know.
Jennifer, I tried.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to pack a bag right now. I can't be here anymore.
Daddy needs some time away. New daddy will be better. Oh, wow. Okay. I have a bunch of emotions. Okay. All right. There's just a couple of things. Did you have anything else on that topic, or do you want me to, would you like me to save you? Okay. All right.
Just thank you for listening to the pain that's inside of me. It feels good to tell someone else and get it out.
I get it. On a couple other topics to close this out here. Something that makes my wife really unhappy about me. So, Paul, you are aware that I received a new board game this week.
I am, in fact, aware.
Okay. So, because computers continue to be hard for everybody, I kickstarted a board game. I'll get to the specifics here in a minute. But the funny kind of anecdote for this story here is I kickstarted this game before I left my previous job, where I worked with Paul. And, Paul has done this as well. When you order something expensive that your spouse might not be happy about, you have it shipped to work. So when I kickstarted this board game, it was, on the pricier side for a board game, especially a board game that I already own, which we'll talk about why that is in a minute. I just had it shipped to work because it's easy to get to. It doesn't sit on my front porch all day. So, after I left the company that I work for, I went through and I basically went to my Kickstarter, and I went in there and I updated the addresses to, where this was going to be shipped to, because obviously I'm not there to receive it. And I got the notification that this particular board game had shipped, as it was supposed to do in November. So I was excited, and I got the notification that it was on its way. And I was expecting it to arrive on Wednesday or Thursday while I was out of town, but not the end of the world, because UPS usually comes to my house right as my wife is getting home, so I wasn't too worried. But anyway, long story short, you texted me on Wednesday saying that you had something of mine, and sure enough, it was this copy of this game that showed up to my old work address. So thank you, Paul,
sure did.
For having it arrive at my house safely.
Happy to do so.
Yeah, so the game in question is the collector's edition of Suburbia. Paul, have you played Suburbia with me?
I have played Suburbia exactly one time. So just my having played the game once, and I know there's a lot of cardboard in that game. This box was A, big, and B, heavy even for its size.
7.5 kilograms, which is like something like 33 pounds if my math is right. I don't know.
So my first thought was, what the heck is in this box?
All right. So this is the collector's edition of Suburbia, which is one of my favorite games. When I got into the board gaming hobby, this is a game that I knew that I wanted, and I had never even played it before, because some of my favorite video games growing up, and some of my favorite things that even when I was a little kid, I always enjoyed drawing and planning cities. There was a brief period of time where I had dreams of becoming an architect. So any kind of game where you build something, I really, really enjoy. And I bought Suburbia. It was out of print when I started getting into board games, and then it came back into print, and I worked really hard to get a copy of Suburbia, and I love it. So the basic premise of the game is that each player is building a small town, and on your turn, there is a series of tiles that are laid out. They are little six-sided hexagons of tiles, and you place them adjacent to other tiles that make up your city. And there's different types of tiles. There are residential tiles that increase your city's population and tax base. There are commercial tiles, which basically also increase your tax base. And then there are industrial tiles, which add greatly to your tax base, but make your residential people unhappy. But you also need the industrial places to support your commercial things. So the whole game is you just laying tiles in front of you and basically building this awesome synergistic city around you. And it's very pleasing to play. It's relatively easy to pick up. It's a game that I would be comfortable teaching to people who don't play a lot of games. So you're basically building a city. And it's a great game. And it's made by a company called Bezier Games. Or Bezier, I think it's Bezier Games. And specifically designed by, if I had to pick a favorite designer that I have, it is designed by Ted Alspach. And Ted Alspach has designed a lot of games that you and I both love. So he's obviously designed Suburbia. He has designed Ultimate Werewolf. He has designed Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So he's got some bona fide creds in the game development department. Now, Collector's Edition Suburbia. So Collector's Edition Suburbia is the base game of Suburbia that I already own. Drew, why would you buy the Collector's Edition? So let me just tell you, Paul, everything that this game has.
Okay, I'm ready. I love components, so tell me.
Oh, boy. So this has everything that the base game has. It has over 100 tiles, okay? plus, and that's not even counting like the starter tiles or like the goal tiles or the things that make up the game. So added to the base game, they completely redid the artwork. They made the tiles a little bit bigger, so they're a little easier to handle. And they gave you a bunch of new organizer trays, and not just component organization. Because if I have one knock on Bezier games is the only thing they give you to store the components are plastic baggies, and they never give you enough of them. If you have ever played the Castles of Mad King Ludwig, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You need an organizer from that game. You can absolutely and should buy one. So this game, the collector's edition, comes with some built-in game tray organizers for all the components. So already A+, you know how I feel about game organizers. Now, it also comes with a tray for organizing the market. And the market is, the series of tiles that are laid out that you choose from every round when you want to take your turn. In addition to that, on this market tray, you now have what they are calling a tile tower. This is a little cardboard skyscraper that you assemble that you basically stack the tiles in that make up the game. And it is positioned on the market tray, so you slide a new tile out right into the market tray. Whew. It just gives me the best of chills, okay? The player boards. So the player boards before were little pieces of cardboard that you would put your markers on to track what your population is, how much money you're making or losing per turn. Those are now insets, so the pieces sit in them instead of sliding off of them.
Okay, nice.
Okay, and that right there would be enough. Oh, and by the way, they also give you metal coins for the money now. Okay, so already
nice touch.
Especially as if you've played Suburbia, you know that the coins are very, very small pieces of cardboard. Okay, so already right there, we're in for a pretty good experience. The artwork is superb. The quality of the cardboard is nice and like almost like laminated. The organizers are amazing, but we're not done. Okay, so this also includes every single expansion that has ever been released for Suburbia. So that includes Suburbia Incorporated, which introduces the concept of bonus tiles and challenge tiles, and city border tiles, which can give you bonuses if you do all the things, and 26 additional tiles. It also includes Suburbia 5-star, which is an additional 40 tiles and bonus and challenge tiles, 6 additional border tiles, a whole new star mechanic, and the ability to add a 5th player. It also includes the Suburbia Con tiles, which were a limited editions, like Bezier Games specific run of tiles. It's only 5 tiles, but they're very, very rare. It also includes special Essen tiles that were released when the game was originally released at Essen Spiel, which is another 6 tiles.
Nice.
It also includes Suburbia Nightlife, which is another 32 tiles, which includes special tiles that have things that happen at night and are pretty tongue-in-cheeky, like some werewolf-related tiles, but they're fun. And I'm not telling you about all the other crap that comes with all these expansions, like additional investment markers, turn order tiles, all that stuff, right?
Okay.
It also comes with, and this is the new one, it also comes with special collector's edition tiles, which are I think there are, let's see here, 10, about 20. Yeah, there are 20 additional tiles that are like landmarks from like specific cities, like CN Tower from Toronto, or the Eiffel Tower from Paris, or Westminster Abbey from London.
Okay.
The White House for Washington, right? So there's these collector's edition tiles that get added to your game. Finally, the original game, even if you were to add the 5th player, had 5 player colors. You now have a choice of 20 player colors with all the bits. You also get little wooden markers that you get, and this is by far the best improvement. You get little wooden markers that you get to place on your tile to remind you of how many icons of things that you have, which you have to do a lot of math on your turn. So that right there is also a beautiful touch. And you also get a light up skyscraper first player marker.
No way. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that was what was in that box. I spent 2 hours punching out cardboard this morning. And
I'm sure gladly too.
Oh, I didn't mind it at all. And trying to assemble this thing and put it into the organizer the correct way. We will be playing this. I am so excited because I love Suburbia. It's a great game. I highly recommend you check it out if you don't know what I'm talking about. Money well spent. This was I think I paid 4 times as much as you would pay for Suburbia for this game. But
you got a lot of stuff in there. Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff in this box. And even so, funny enough, when I unpacked the box, okay, it had the box, but all of the cardboard was outside of the box because of all the other stuff that was in the box.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot. So, yeah, we will be playing this game. We'll put a link in show notes to it, and I'm really excited about it, in case you can't already tell.
I can tell.
Another hour just like that. How do we do this?
It's like we're getting good at this, Drew.
I mean, we're getting pretty good at it. Oh, by the way,
good.
I've had this for 2 weeks now, and I haven't had a chance to do it yet. I'm going to be basically building a studio in my basement. I got some noise cancellation tiles I need to hang on my wall.
Oh, I want some of those so bad.
They're like $12 for like a pack of 20.
I should get some.
Yeah. And I even watched a cool tutorial online where, like, you're not supposed to mount them directly to the wall. You basically get some, like, poster board and put them on that, and then put the double-sided tape on that.
Really?
Yeah, I know exactly what I have to do. I just haven't done it yet. And I know that sometimes I sound a little bit echoey on this mic, so I'm anxious to see if that cancels that out, because I basically record this in a cubicle.
Yeah. Now, you're supposed to put it, like in the direction that you talk, right?
Yes. So ideally, so it depends. So if you were just sitting and facing a wall, you would put it on the wall directly across from you. But like I said, I'm recording this in like an enclosed space where there's like about 2.5 feet of clearance on either side of me. So I might put some in the corners too. We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to try that out. I'll let you know how it goes. I've had them. They've been sitting next to my desk for 2 weeks. I just haven't had time to like mount them. But I'll let you know how it goes.
Well, can't wait to hear what you sound like.
It's going to be delicious. Those sweet tarts are going to sound so good. Paul, tell us where people can find us.
Okay, so you can find us on the internet at doingtheirbest.com. You can send us an email at contact@doingtheirbest.com. You can also find the podcast on Twitter at doingbestpod. You can find me personally, Paul Baylor, at Paul Baylor, and that's BAHLER. It looks like baller. I can spell my own last name. And where can we find you, Drew?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Pittsburgh. If you enjoy pictures of my dog standing next to board games, where you can also see a picture of just how big this stupid Suburbia box was, you can find me at PITTFURG. Yeah, and that's going to be it for this week. As always, we would love to hear your comments and your topics, so make sure you send them in.
And keep sending in those intros.
Yes, please. All right, everybody. Talk to you next week.
Yeah, toodles.